So what I have here is a 1/4-inch flat plate, and I believe you can get this, I think it was like $27, and it was bigger than this. I don't remember exactly. I think it was a 12 by 12, but this should do front brackets and rear brackets. Should do both of them, no problem, and extra. So I made this bracket, which I know it says Toyota, but the Toyota and the Mazda, very similar front suspension, and I've checked that this does actually fit with the Mazda. So you're gonna literally just lay it down, you're gonna trace it out, and mark your hole right in the center of this. And you're gonna drill your hole with a 2-inch hole saw. You're gonna cut this out with a grinder or a plasma cutter if you have one. And you're also gonna cut like 2 small like triangles like this, probably about that size. These are gonna be your gussets for the bottom, and if you need more for the top, you're gonna cut more, obviously. So this is what the bracket looks like when it's installed. So this one's a little bit bigger, but you see it goes around and it completely clears this A-arm. It doesn't hit this A-arm at all. And then there's also gussets that go down. And when I did mine, I also put some on the top. And I put gussets that go all the way down to this, on the inside of this, so that it doesn't bend or nothing like that. So the way I make these brackets is actually pretty simple. This is a 720, but it's still a similar design. So you get like a rough estimate of what you want to do. Then you get an extra cylinder and a coil, and you take all this apart. And you're gonna want to place this where the shock goes, like against the frame there, and space out where you want your coil and stuff to go. Like you would leave this long. So you space it out where you want it to go, and you unbolt your upper control arm and you cycle it up and down. And you want to make sure it clears this bracket so you don't have to cut your arms down. And that's pretty much all there is to building the bracketry for the front. Is just cardboard, cylinder, and coil. You space it where you want it, trim it around here until you can move this up and down and it doesn't hit. As far as your rear brackets go, you don't really need a template for that. You're mostly just going to do probably a similar width as this, and just make a square. And two squares will do the rear brackets, and then obviously you're gonna cut your gussets. I'm gonna use this section here to get all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of my gussets. I'll use all the rest of this plate. But yeah, so your rear brackets are just gonna be a square with a hole in the center, and that'll be perfect. And mine are a little dirty, so don't mind that. But your rear brackets will look something like this. This is a little different because I used a C-channel that I had found at the scrap bin at my local steel place. But the one that I'm gonna make for the other truck is gonna be a little shorter. It's gonna be a little thinner than this, so the coil will fit nice and tightly in there. But same as that concept. And then it's not gonna have this. This I only added because I had wore through this one. But I'm gonna come up with a better solution for this. But yeah, you're just gonna cut a square out, you're gonna weld it to the frame, and you're gonna have your gussets go down. And you want this as small as possible. If you're running a wide wheel with a different offset, like wire wheels, these are 15/8, they're fully reversed, so they don't hit the bracket. I think 1510s don't hit either, but if you run 1510 like aluminum rims, like saw blades or something deep dish like that, the back of the rim sits in a little bit further. So this used to hit I used to have saw blades on this truck. This used to hit the back of the rim really bad. So you try to keep this as close as you can. If you look, I can't even fit a marker back here behind the coil. I noticed when rewatching the video, I didn't clarify that the bracket would only hit when you're doing like a side-to-side or a 3-wheel. It won't just hit going up and down regularly. Marker back here, behind the coil. I could barely fit that. And that's how tight of a fit it is. All right, so right now I'm getting ready to cut these brackets out. But before I cut them out, I like to drill them out. I use a 2-inch hole saw. Milwaukee one does pretty good. So I'm gonna try to find like the best center part of these holes here. And then I'm gonna drill these out, and I'm gonna draw the other ones up and drill those out too before I cut anything. It's a little easier to hold this plate because I'll clamp this down here. I'll be able to drill it out. So I got the holes drilled out for these ones. I'm gonna clean them up after the grinder once I cut this out, but I'm gonna get the holes drilled out for the rear brackets too. I'm gonna just do a very simple setup. As you see, this leaves plenty of room for your coil on each side. So for the rear is how much I'm gonna do it, 8 inches for both of them.
go 8 inches there. And you see I have plenty of space here, so I'm gonna go ahead and go probably about the same as these. Nope, just a little bit smaller. We're gonna go 3.5 with these. They don't gotta be perfect because I'm actually gonna put a curve on this when I'm done. So then I want to put this in here, and let me take the camera off of here. So I got the rear ones all made up, and the way I did this is I found my centers of this bracket. This is a 4" by 4". I found my centers, I put my coil, and then I moved my coil to where I want it to sit. So obviously I want space here, I want space here, and I want space up here. And I'm gonna put a curve on this. So I put that there, and then I marked each corner of it. The side there, the side there, the side there. And then you take that off and you find the center from your marks. And this top line right here, this is the one I'm gonna drill my hole out. So I did that on both sides, same thing, top line. This one right here is where I'm gonna drill my hole out. And that's how I find the center of where I want the coil to sit. So get a good drill when you're doing this. I happen to just have this drill. I think I got it for like 20 bucks. But right here, this just smoked it out right now. Can't tell anymore, but it was on fire just a couple seconds ago. So I'm gonna go get a new drill and then I'm gonna finish up these brackets. So I actually found another drill. I forgot I had this one. So I'm just gonna use this one until it burns up. Because like I said, I'm planning to buy another drill this week. So might as well just burn both of these drills up. All right, that sucker just got me through. Just got it through. Like, I know these are cheap, but I think they're like 40 bucks at Home Depot. This is probably the third one I've had, but they work. They do what they're supposed to do. They just don't last very long, especially for going through 1/4" plate like this. But hey, it worked. So now I'm gonna get the grinder out and I'm gonna cut these all with the grinder completely. So I'll time lapse that and you guys can see that happen. Now that I got them all cut out square like that, I'm gonna put them in the vise right here. I'm gonna go back with the grinder and I'm gonna give it that angle. I'm gonna cut it at an angle, like a triangle almost, and I'll grind it smooth after. Same with this one. This one's easier because it's not so hard. But this one, yeah, you gotta come up kind of at an angle, and then cut the top, and you'll be able to grind it smooth. And once I do that, then I'll draw up the gussets on this section of panel and I'll cut those out. All right, so I was originally gonna cut them in the vise, but I changed my mind and did it on the edge of the table. It was a lot easier. Once you get them like this, they look a little blocky, obviously. So you're gonna take your flap disc, one of these guys, and you're gonna put this, now you're gonna put it in the vise. And you're gonna go over and you're gonna round that edge. It looks nice and clean. And once you do that, these are gonna look real nice. Now, once you hit it a while, you'll have to trim the tops a little bit and you can grind it. And you see, it ain't perfect. It's not a perfectly round. I'm probably gonna hit this more but I'm gonna get another one of these so I can hit it a little bit more. But it's decent, looks pretty good. But like I said, yeah, I'm gonna still hit this a little bit more. But this is kind of what you want to go for. It's a nice round edge on the top. All right, so I got these all cleaned up. They look pretty good. These ones came out better just because I wanted to keep them more square on the square side. These ones, like I said, they're not perfectly round, but I'm gonna still get a new flap disc and hit them one more time, get them nice and round. But these are pretty good, so now I'm gonna start making the gussets for these, and pretty much I'm just gonna measure the distance here and make 2 gussets for each one, and then same here. I'm gonna measure probably from like here to here and here to here and measure the size of them and just cut a bunch of triangles out of here. And you'll see how I lay it out so that I can get the most use out of this panel right here. So right now I got the gussets cut out or drawn up. You see right here. I got all the gussets for these ones. I'm gonna probably use these for this one. And so they could be a little smaller up front. So what I did is I measured how long I wanted them. So I said 2.5 inches should be good. I measured here, I put a line across, and then I figured out how far I want them to come down. So I decided 1.5 inches is a good angle there. So from 1.5 inches, I went over, I measured it, and I put a line. And then I got the square, I put a straight line. Then I measured over from that line, 1.5 inches, put a line, put a square. And that's when I cut these out, I'm gonna get 4 gussets. So that'll be enough for the front. And then I'm gonna do the back ones for the back brackets. I'm gonna do these ones on this side. I'm gonna do them a little bit taller and a little bit longer probably, just to give me some extra bite on these because they're gonna be carrying a lot of weight. So once I get these cut out, I'll draw up a second set and I'll show you guys how to do that. So I got these ones all set up. So you see how they'll sit. This will weld to the frame and these will weld to the frame as well and sit underneath, or you can put them on top. Now I actually might do both and put some underneath the bracket up and then some on the top holding it down just for that extra reinforcement. That's how I did mine. So we'll see if it ends up needing that. But like I said, this is a perfect fit. You got just enough for your gussets on the side. Everything, your coil will stay nice and tight in there and won't have room to really jiggle around too much. And then now I'm gonna show you guys how I did these ones, or how I'm gonna do these ones for this one. I'm gonna do these ones just a little bit bigger than those ones, just for a little extra reinforcement. All right, so for these ones, I'm probably gonna go the same distance as far as 2.5 inches. Gonna go the same 2.5 inches from this side. Doesn't have to be perfect, just close enough. And then for these ones though, I think I want to go more, maybe 2 inches down. I want these ones to be a little bit fatter. So yeah, I think that'll be good. So we're gonna go over, we're gonna go 2 inches this way. And ooh, we're just short. So let's go ahead and go right between 2 inches. Yeah, that's gonna have to work. And I'm gonna square this one just because I'm a little bit closer on material, so. And then I'm gonna cut this way. Okay, so this one, obviously in the corner, is going to be a little bit shorter. So I might actually just move this one up here, redo this one up here. But I'll still get my 3 out of this one, and then this one obviously, yeah, it'll be a little bit on the short side. So we'll see. I'm gonna get these cut out, and then I'll decide. So here's what the brackets look like. Pretty much done now. I got all my gussets cut. These are just, I found some 3/16 plate, and it's either gonna go on the bottom or on the top of this bracket for extra reinforcement. I'll know once I have it on the truck. I'll know exactly where I'm gonna put it. But I just cut those at 3/16 plate the same way as I did the other ones. But here's the brackets done. Ready to go. All right, so I'm getting ready to do the rear bottom bracket. So this is the bracket that goes to the frame, but the bottom where your power ball is gonna sit is gonna be a little bit different. So what I have here is I'm gonna put a 45 in this right here. That's gonna 45, and this bottom half of it is gonna weld to the bottom leaf spring plate, like the, not the actual leaf spring, but the plate that holds all the leaf springs with the bolts through it. That's gonna weld there. This truck has 4-inch blocks, so that's gonna weld there, and it's gonna go up, like up towards the frame. And this is gonna sit right here. I'm gonna cut this down. It's gonna sit here, and that's where your power ball is gonna sit down on, right there. And then I made these gussets right here out of all 1/2 inch, and those will pretty much sit like that, and it'll give that power ball a lot of sturdiness there and help it out. So once I get these all cut out, you guys, it'll make a lot more sense. And I'll put a picture of one on the screen just so you can see what it'll kind of look like when it's done. And yeah. So I just got these pieces all cut out. Now this is 1/2 inch thick, 3-inch by 3-inch, and this is a 3-inch by 3-inch angle iron, 3/8 thick, and I cut it the same way, 3 inches by 3 inches. And like I said, I'm gonna put this angle in it. I'm gonna put an angle like that in it, but I'm gonna do that tomorrow. So there's that, and then tomorrow I'm gonna cut the gussets out for it as well. And then this will give you plenty of space here for the Powerball perch. And that should be good. So just to give you an example of a similar way, this is how the brackets on my truck are. Now I only have a 1.5 inch block, so I had mine come out and go down. They go down, and they don't really go sit that low to the ground. So that's the difference on mine. With the other truck that I'm doing, it has a 4-inch block. So instead of this going down, I'm gonna flip this. It's gonna go and then come up a little bit, like so right here, and sit here, because his lowering blocks are already way down here. And don't mind my cylinders, they're a little leaky. I gotta change these. I think I'm gonna run a 10-inch cylinder in the rear. So yeah. All right, so I got all the pieces cut out, and I'm gonna tack this all together, and it'll make a lot more sense once it's all put together. So let me get that done, and I'll show you guys. All right, so I just tacked them all up so you guys can see what they look like, and I think now it starts to make sense. This is your leaf spring plate. This is gonna go to your leaf spring plate. It's gonna come up. Cylinder's gonna sit here in this power ball, both sides, and you got plenty of reinforcement on the bottom. And then this little gusset, I cut this one. This came off of the top of this. This one's actually gonna go, when you weld it to the leaf spring plate, you'll have a little bit of space underneath the plate, so you can put this one underneath there. It's gonna go underneath that one against the leaf spring plate. So that'll help keep that structurally sound, but there you go.